My name is Maria, and I'm a 44-year-old woman. After a long, exhausting day of the office, I found myself in front of the bathroom mirror, pausing for a moment. As I peeled off my work clothes, first my skirt, then unbuttoning my blouse, I stood there in just my bra and lace stockings, catching my own reflection. It had been a long time since I'd really looked at myself like that, really seen myself. And for a second, I felt a spark I hadn't felt in a while. I worked hard and I kept myself in shape, but somewhere along the way, I had stopped thinking of myself as desirable. I was lost in my own thoughts, appreciating the moment and the soft feel of lace against my skin, tracing delicate patterns along my waist and shoulders. The quiet, almost meditative state was soothing after the long day, and I barely registered the distant sound of the main door opening and closing. But then suddenly, I heard footsteps coming down the hallway, quick, purposeful. Before I had a chance to gather myself, the bathroom door opened, and there stood Peter. He froze, wide-eyed, taking in the scene. For a few seconds, neither of us moved. I could see the surprise in his eyes as he stood there, clearly caught off guard, unsure if he should look away or say something. He quickly mumbled an apology, fumbling to close the door as he tried to leave. But in the moment, I surprised myself. I called out softly, "No need to be shy." There was a surge of boldness, a rare confidence that came from somewhere I couldn't quite name. Maybe it was just the sense of feeling seen, of being in that vulnerable moment without needing to cover it up. The curiosity and awe in Peter's eyes were unmistakable, and it only encouraged me. I reached for his arm, stopping him from closing the door completely. In a gentle, calm voice, I told him he didn't have to leave. There was a spark of excitement in the air, a kind of mutual understanding that somehow felt natural and real. I mentioned to him that I'd noticed his curiosity, his fascination, even before this moment. He looked back at me, almost speechless, as if trying to process what was happening, a mixture of intrigue and amazement on his face. And before I knew it, I found myself pulling him a little closer, both of us sharing a moment that felt impossible to explain. As the moment lingered, there was an undeniable pull between us, an energy that felt both surreal and completely natural. Without saying a word, I moved closer to him, and we shared a kiss. Slow, hesitant at first, as if we were both testing the waters. But with each passing second, the hesitation melted away, replaced by a mutual sense of trust and curiosity. It felt like time had paused, and in that small space, nothing else existed. My fingers found their way to his hair, gently tangling through it, pulling him closer. There was something about the way he held me, his hands traveling gently along my back, that felt calming and exciting all at once. His touch was both careful and confident, exploring in a way that made me feel grounded, safe, as if he wanted to understand each detail, every movement, like a quiet exchange of trust between us. I caught sight of our reflection in the mirror behind us, and it heightened the moment, making it feel even more intense, more real. The reflection captured the vulnerability and warmth that surrounded us, adding a layer of awareness that made it feel more than just a fleeting moment. His hands were gentle yet intentional, moving along my waist and lingering over the lace fabric of my stockings, sending a quiet thrill through me. There was something genuine and connected in the way he held me, a quiet energy that filled the room, making everything feel meaningful and lasting. After a moment, we moved from the small space in the bathroom to my bedroom, where everything felt more comfortable, like a quiet sanctuary that held the warmth of our shared connection. I led Peter inside, and as he followed, I felt a blend of anticipation and calm, a feeling of trust and openness that made everything feel natural. The way he looked at me, with a softness that seemed both curious and earnest, reassured me that this moment was more than a passing encounter. It was a sincere, shared experience. I took a gentle lead, guiding him to sit on the edge of the bed as I knelt beside him. We continued to explore that warmth between us, sharing soft, lingering kisses and light touches. I let my hands trace his shoulders, his neck, following the curve of his jaw as I took in each detail. And he mirrored my movements, his hands moving along my arms, feeling the texture of the lace and the warmth of my skin. There was no need to rush. We simply enjoyed the quiet, easy rhythm that unfolded between us, like a mutual dance of sorts. The air was filled with a palpable energy that grew steadily, but there was no sense of pressure. It was more about discovery, about appreciating each other in a way that felt honest and vulnerable. As I felt his hands move along my back and sides, there was a gentle exchange of trust, an unspoken acknowledgement of the comfort and curiosity we shared. He let his hands wander over the lace fabric, taking in every detail, his movements both attentive and caring. I shifted slightly, bringing myself closer to him, wrapping my arms around his shoulders. Each touch, each movement, felt like a reassurance that this moment was as special to him as it was to me. I could see the sincerity in his expression, the way he absorbed every small gesture, making each second feel treasured. The sense of comfort and trust between us deepened as we continued, savoring each other's company in the stillness of the room. There was something beautiful about the simplicity of it, no need for grand gestures or words, just the genuine presence we shared. For a moment, it felt as though we were wrapped in our own world, free from the stresses of the day and the usual routines. Then suddenly, a sound broke the calm. A doorbell chimed from the hallway, loud and unexpected. I tensed for a second, my mind snapping back to reality. "Martin," I murmured, a jolt of recognition hitting me as I realized he must have come home earlier than expected. We exchanged a look, understanding instantly what needed to be done, and we both quietly laughed at the timing of it all. I quickly straightened my clothes, brushing a hand over my hair to make sure everything was in place, while Peter did the same, adjusting himself with a quick, amused look in my direction. There was a playful, knowing glance between us that felt like a silent promise to continue this connection later. I could still feel the warmth from our encounter as I moved to the door, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and amusement at the unexpected interruption. As I greeted Martin at the door, Peter joined us, his demeanor casual, blending seamlessly into the moment as we exchanged pleasantries. We all sat down to dinner as if nothing had happened, sharing stories about our day, laughing, and enjoying each other's company. Beneath the surface, though, I could still feel the warmth of our shared connection, a quiet understanding between Peter and me that lingered, hinting at something more. The next evening, I was unwinding in my room, letting the events of the day drift away. It was a quiet moment for myself, something I looked forward to each evening. But as I lay there, lost in my thoughts, I heard a gentle knock on the door. I glanced up, surprised, and then saw Peter standing in the doorway. He had a look in his eyes that was both curious and excited, a spark of familiarity mixed with the thrill of the unexpected. He stepped into the room with a soft smile, shaking his head slightly as if he couldn't believe what he was about to say. "Yesterday was insane," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, but filled with sincerity. "I can't stop thinking about it." There was a pause, a beat where neither of us said anything, and then he moved closer, his gaze meeting mine as if seeking permission to bridge the space between us. Without a word, he placed his hand on my leg, softly tracing the fabric near my knee, and pressed a gentle kiss along the curve of my leg. It was a small, meaningful gesture that sent a warmth through me, a reminder of the connection we'd shared the day before. I reached out and guided him closer, and as he settled next to me, there was a calmness in the way we looked at each other, a sense of trust that made every moment feel relaxed and natural. He guided me with a gentle but assured touch, turning me so my back pressed lightly against him. His movements were neither hurried nor hesitant. Every gesture felt intentional, as if he knew exactly what he wanted and how to communicate it without words. I could feel the warmth of his chest close against me, his breath stirring my hair, bringing a comforting sense of calm even as my own breathing grew uneven. The room seemed quieter than before, the sounds around us fading until there was only the gentle rhythm of our breaths and the steady beat of my heart. His hand rested on my shoulder for a moment, and the weight of it felt grounding, like an anchor that tethered me fully to this moment. I closed my eyes, letting my senses take in every small detail. The faint scent of his cologne, the warmth that radiated from his skin, and the barely there rustle of fabric as he moved. His presence was powerful yet comforting, making me feel both vulnerable and protected, a strange and wonderful paradox. I felt a surge of energy ripple through me, a mixture of anticipation and surrender. My breaths grew deeper, slow, and drawn out as I tried to keep myself composed. Yet there was something undeniably thrilling in feeling this close, with no barriers, no walls. His arm found its way around me, drawing me in closer still, until every inch of space between us dissolved. The steady rhythm of his breath was soothing, as if he were creating a quiet world for just the two of us, a place where time slowed and every touch mattered. At first, he moved with a softness, like he was feeling out the rhythm, letting both of us adjust to the nearness. My breath caught, a momentary shiver running through me, a response I could barely control. I felt the warmth of his hand at my waist, the sensation delicate but electric, sparking every nerve as his fingers brushed my skin. There was a gentleness in his movements that made me feel seen, respected, and entirely alive. But then, with a slight shift, he changed pace, moving with more purpose. I could feel him exhale as he grew more intent, as if he'd decided to let down the careful control he'd held up to this point. A shiver spread through me as he held me close, our breathing mingling, and the pace he set was exhilarating, leaving no space for hesitation, only an unspoken understanding. His movements matched my own responses in a perfect, wordless conversation, with each movement drawing me deeper into the moment. I had been trying to keep my composure, but now I found myself breathing louder, letting go of restraint, unable to hold back the response that built inside me. My heart pounded faster, the rhythm in sync with his own, until every sensation blurred together in a kind of focused intensity. I felt as though I were floating, as though time had lost meaning, and the only thing that mattered was this feeling, this connection. His hand at my waist tightened just slightly, a gesture that brought me back to the present, grounding me in the warmth and comfort he provided. I found myself surrendering, letting go of any lingering thoughts or worries, and just being in the moment with him. As we found our rhythm, I realized how natural it felt to be close, to trust him, and to let him guide me. There was something unspoken between us, an understanding that needed no words. My breathing had become deep, steady, though I could feel it hitch every so often as he moved with more urgency. I felt my heartbeat echo through me, as if every beat was answering his, falling in perfect sync. He leaned in, his forehead brushing against my hair, and I could feel the warmth in his gaze, a softness that filled me with calm and excitement all at once. Each breath felt like a step into uncharted territory, but I felt safe, as though he'd created a space just for us, where everything else faded away. I wanted to express the gratitude I felt for his gentleness, for his patience, for the way he seemed to understand exactly what I needed without me having to say a word. In that moment, as he held me close, I felt completely free, connected to him in a way I couldn't quite explain. My heart felt as though it might burst from the overwhelming mix of emotions: excitement, warmth, comfort, and something deeper, a sense of belonging. Every touch was a reassurance, a silent promise, and as I let go of my last restraint, a sense of peace filled me. The fast pace he chose matched the urgency of our emotions, and I realized I no longer needed to hold back, no longer needed to keep quiet. I let myself fully experience it, giving in to the sensations, and for a brief moment, everything else ceased to matter. After we finished, I took a few moments to gather myself, feeling a quiet content warmth that lingered even as I got up to start the rest of the evening. I went to the bathroom to fix my hair and freshen up, giving myself a quick glance in the mirror before heading to the kitchen to prepare dinner. The familiar sounds of chopping vegetables and the gentle sizzle from the stovetop filled the air, grounding me in the rhythm of everyday life. I set the table, glancing over my shoulder now, and then to see Peter tidying up around the house, his usual calm presence adding to the sense of comfort that filled the space. A little while later, my husband arrived home, his familiar footsteps announcing his presence as he walked in. He greeted us with his usual warmth, giving Peter a friendly pat on the shoulder and me a soft smile. We all sat down together around the table, and I served the meal with a quiet sense of pride, pleased that everything looked just right. As we began to eat, my husband turned to us, asking about our day with his usual curiosity. Peter spoke first, sharing a few stories from his classes, his face lighting up as he described a particularly interesting discussion in his history course. I smiled, feeling a gentle pride at how passionately he spoke, his excitement so genuine and bright. My husband listened attentively, asking questions here and there, clearly engaged in the conversation and interested in what Peter had to say. Then it was my turn, and I shared a little about my own day at work. I told them about a new project I was handling, careful to keep things light and interesting. My husband nodded, giving me his full attention, and Peter listened too, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. The meal felt cozy and warm, filled with familiar conversation, laughter, and the gentle hum of shared contentment. The thought stayed with me as we finished dinner and cleaned up together, everyone working in their familiar roles, the rhythms of family life wrapping around us like a warm blanket. And even as the night came to a close, with the dishes put away and the house quiet once more, I found myself thinking back to the closeness I had felt, a feeling that lingered like the memory of a warm, unexpected touch. I couldn't say what the future held or what might come next, but I had a quiet certainty that there would be more moments like the one we had shared, that this was only the beginning of something quietly meaningful. It was a thought I held close as I prepared for bed, a small smile crossing my lips as I drifted off to sleep.